saving the sign.
It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Irving.
It's just part of history.
An icon of downtown Irving comes down, and a group is raising money to preserve that sign that stood outside Big State for decades. Serious training.
It's eerie how realistic it is.
Irving first responders practice their response to a mass shooting, and we look at some of the lessons they are learning. Book bargains.
It's a very well-kept secret. We don't want it to be a secret.
People are finding great deals on books while supporting Irving library programs. Find out how you can score a deal now on CitySource. Taking a step back in time while preparing for the future. Renovations are moving forward at the Jackie Townsell Bear Creek Heritage Center. Hello and welcome to CitySource. I'm Thomas Gandy. We'll check on progress there a bit later. But first, Irving City Council called a May 4th bond election for a proposition for the issuance of up to $200 million in bonds for a City Hall complex project. If approved by voters and based on current assumptions, there will be a property tax increase of about 1.81 cents. That would impact the average single-family home by around $40 per year. The current City Hall is 50 years old, and Irving's population has more than doubled since it opened. If approved by voters, two potential sites are being considered for the new complex. They are between the 400 and 800 block of West Irving Boulevard. We will be sharing more on this in the weeks ahead, and there is additional information to read right now at cityofirving.org/City Hall. Now to a situation Irving first responders hope they never have to encounter. A training exercise tested their response to a school shooting, and Robert Sheik covered it for us.
It's a cool winter morning outside Nimitz High School, but inside, a chilling simulation.
What's happening?
Preparing Irving first responders for the worst events they hopefully never have to encounter.
Where's you at?
Imagine the worst day that you've ever had in your life.
Can you hear me?
Multiply that times 100.
Cafeteria, straight down that way. Let's go.
Things that you're going to see.
Irving Police, if you're in here, come out.
Things you're going to feel.
Is it gone?
Emotionally, mentally, physically, they're going to be feeling all the effects.
Organizers of this recent active shooter drill for the Irving Police and Fire Departments attempt to replicate the stress
What do I have here?
first responders have to deal with in emergency situations.
It's eerie how realistic it is.
Unconscious.
Props like makeup and fake blood, and volunteers acting wounded, deceased, or hiding
Anybody else in there?
create a difficult scene for responders to navigate,
Coming through.
just like the scenarios they could potentially face.
They're very chaotic, they're very complicated,
151, right?
and they're very difficult to manage. So the more we can do and learn from these types of exercises, the better off we are.
As police officers work to ensure the building is secure
Room's clear. 149's clear.
and fire personnel care for the wounded, this training session serves as a reminder to the importance of preparation in a time of crisis.
Here in Irving, we try to prepare for the worst, and that's our job.
Room 188, somebody's injured. Go in that door right there.
We're preparing for incidents that we hope never happens.
Preparing for the worst
We can take this area right here.
to ensure the best possible outcome. Robert Sheik for CitySource.
Residents have another chance to get updates on several major projects representing tens of millions of dollars of infrastructure investment. The City of Irving hosted a meeting at Lee Park Recreation Center to make sure residents are aware of what is happening and get their questions answered. Teams will be covering the same content again for people who may have missed that initial meeting. Topics include MacArthur Boulevard construction, Embassy Channel drainage improvements, and the new pool coming to Lee Park. The next meeting is at Lee Park Recreation Center on Tuesday, February 27th at 6 p.m. And we have news on another project. Paving and utility improvements on Esters Road are about to get underway. The $17 million project includes adding a new water line as well as replacing an existing water line, wastewater mains, storm drainage systems, and more. A public meeting to provide details on the project is set for Wednesday, March 6th at 2 p.m. at the Jack D. Huffman Community Building. We know a lot of you are interested in this next story. It is about the work to preserve the sign that stood at Big State. We posted a brief clip on Facebook and it set a City of Irving record for number of views. Now, a more in-depth look at the sign, past, present, and future.
In 1953, it's a thriving city with a population of over 14,000 in the city limits.
So many memories.
As a kid, I remember coming down from Mom.
Made over many decades.
A lot of us used to go there and get chili all the time.
All in downtown Irving.
Been had a counter, ate lunch there many times.
Under and around this sign.
Was hometown. It was special.
The big state neon sign is coming down off the building.
Teams start by taking off the neon tubes. As word spread of the sign's removal, people turned out to capture the moment.
Had to get some pictures.
It was always just a point of reference to where I grew up.
After operating more than 65 years, Big State Drug closed in 2014 and soon reopened as a restaurant. But business was not as strong as it needed to be, and Big State again closed in 2022. The building's new owner did not want this sign and put it up for sale.
We really wanted to try to preserve it. So we contacted the new owner of the building and made arrangements to purchase the sign.
And it's an opportunity for the city to preserve history.
It wasn't budgeted item. It came up all of a sudden.
The nonprofit Friends of the Irving Museums is raising money to pay for the sign's removal and next steps. More on that in a minute. First, the sign has to come down.
Don't do it every day.
And crews are hitting some challenges.
They just told me it's only got one bolt in there holding it together, so I'm a little nervous here. That's why we just put the extra straps on it.
Terry Waldrum has a lot of ties to this project. His sign shop is within walking distance, and he's a former city councilman.
I've lived here my entire life. It's part of history. We tend to lose that these days.
With some careful work, the removal process is successful, and crews start to carefully load the sign onto a trailer.
The first step is to put it in safe storage, make sure that we have all the measures in place to preserve it.
It is too large to fit inside the Irving Archives and Museum, so teams will have to decide where it will go.
The selling of the sign came so quickly that it was immediately the project and the focus became to get it to the right place and get it stored properly so that we will have an opportunity to do something with it when that time comes.
People we talk to are happy to see the preservation.
It means a lot to me. It means a lot to Irving.
Children need to see that too. They need to see how history changes.
I hope that people take away from it once it's eventually placed back on display in some location is that they have a chance to reflect on their memories.
As for the building, the owner confirmed to me that a seafood restaurant is expected to open here early this spring. But there will always be Big State memories that will live on, even as downtown Irving evolves.
And this would be an artifact from a time when Irving was a small suburban town just starting to grow.
If you want to learn more about Friends of the Irving Museums or make a donation, here's the website. It is long, so we had to break it up on the graphic. irvingarchivesandmuseum.com/museum-friends. If you're watching this program on YouTube, you can look for the link in the description. February is Black History Month, and Irving has several places to visit that honor the memory and contributions of notable African Americans. King Square Pocket Park at 200 Gilbert Road opened last year. It stands in tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and features plaques with some of his notable quotes. Not far from there, updates are progressing at the Jackie Townsell Bear Creek Heritage Center. Jen Landry is the City of Irving's Director of Museums, and she joins us now. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and there is so much to talk about, but before we get to the specific improvements, let's set the stage. For new residents, what is the significance of the Bear Creek area?
So Bear Creek is one of the oldest freedmen towns in North Texas, and there is evidence of enslaved people living there and freedmen, but then after the Civil War, post-emancipation, it became an enclave and safe space for African Americans to settle, and so that was the African American community for Irving for decades.
So there are 3 buildings in this center that is named for former City Councilwoman Jackie May Townsell, who was a true gem.
Yeah.
And let's go through each of them so you can talk about the improvements. First up, the Masonic Lodge. What's happening there?
So the Masonic Lodge was the Masonic Lodge in the community, but also a community center, and we completely redid the exterior on that building. The siding had some condition issues, it had some moisture damage, and so we went back and restored the siding, redid all the windows, restored doors, the balcony that's on the back of the building, basically a complete overhaul of that building.
Tell me how that building is used.
The first floor is going to have an exhibit that is in progress that should open next year, and then the second floor, actually the Masons meet there. The original lodge that met there in the 1940s reconstituted in 2017, and so they have an active lodge in that space.
Next up, the J.O. Davis House. What's happening there?
So the J.O. Davis House also had to have complete exterior overhaul. We had custom siding made out of cypress wood so that it'll last a long time. Same profile of wood as it was on it previously. Installed an ADA accessible ramp on that building that is to code, as well as restored the porch and redid all the windows and doors on that as well.
And one that is really a trip back in time. The greenhouse, the Sam greenhouse. Tell me about that one.
So the greenhouse is a unique structure because it's a board and batten construction, which was very common but does not survive. Just the nature of it, it's basically a single thick wall, so not really inhabitable by our standards. But that building, we restored the exterior, did some foundation issues that addressed those, as well as put new porches on the space. That's restored to look as a home would have looked in Bear Creek in the 1920s. So it's a step back in time. No air conditioning, so come out in the summer and it'll be warm. But because we restored the doors and stuff, we can now actually open the doors and have crossway winds the way it was designed. So, you know, it's a better experience for the visitor.
So the work is ongoing, but tell me about the plans to have a reintroduction to the public.
Yeah, so it is available for tours currently. We will give tours, but the lodge and the Davis House both had exhibits in them previously, which we obviously had to take down because we had to take all the windows out of the buildings. So we are currently redesigning those exhibitions. We're going to go back in with more of a 21st century visitor in mind, but still covering the content of the African American experience and the Bear Creek community. And that is targeted to be completed in February of 2025.
All right, Jen Landry, the City of Irving's Director of Museums, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and you can learn more about the Townsell Bear Creek Heritage Center on the Irving Archives and Museum website. You will find the link to Bear Creek at the top of the page. Some residents are finding amazing bargains on books. The nonprofit Friends of the Irving Public Library offers regular book sales at the City Warehouse on Rock Island. And we checked out what customers can find there.
So many faces. Hi, welcome back.
The minute this building opens, shoppers are ready to go.
I just love walking in a room like this, and it's like a kid at a candy shop.
This is a used book sale hosted by Friends of the Irving Public Library, and the selection is huge. How many do you estimate you have in this building at this time?
Now that's a unique question.
We have a lot of the withdrawn books from the library. They've gotten out of date. And then we have a lot of people who donate books.
It leads to a diverse mix, all types of books.
We even still have records.
Along with DVDs and puzzles.
People who didn't even realize they enjoyed working puzzles come in and buy these.
It's always a really eclectic mix. You never know what there's going to be this time.
So that means you can find books by the most famous authors, develop your hobbies, relive your favorite shows, listen to Irving Berlin in Irving, build meals around Miracle Whip, and discover just about anything. And the price for most books?
$1. Some things in the children's section are 50 cents and 25 cents. So you can't beat the price.
The prices prompt people to load up carts and bags full of books.
Usually we get 10 or 12 each. And today we had a bunch.
I've got somebody over here where we're holding some books who's got 2 boxes already. Are you ready to check out, ma'am?
Even the volunteers working the sale
Thank you for coming today.
do a lot of shopping themselves.
I'm a former math teacher. I come across math books And so I'll be like, oh my gosh, I've got to have this math book.
This sale is exclusively for members of Friends of the Irving Public Library. It happens on most first Wednesdays. Then it's open to everyone the following Saturday.
I would definitely say it's a very well-kept secret. We don't want it to be a secret.
We have a lot of regular customers that come every month. They know what good bargains we have.
$31.50.
The low prices add up to impressive totals.
We average at least $700 a month. It's moving up all the time, and that's not counting our public sales.
All of that money goes to support Irving Public Library programs, including the North Texas Teen Book Festival, which draws thousands to the Irving Convention Center and keeps these young people pumped up about reading.
We're a 100% volunteer organization, and so everything that we make goes directly for library programs.
And see if I recognize any authors.
Some former educators make the positive impact go even further.
I was an art teacher, so I like picture books the best.
Members of the Retired School Personnel Association shop here monthly, but not just for themselves.
We get about 200 to 300 books every time we come, and we take them to our kids at elementary schools.
We want them to read and to have books of their very own at home.
I want to make readers out of them. Give them something that they can do all their lives. Now here, I would pick this one out, The Little Engine That Could.
I remember that one.
That's been around a long time, so
I think I can.
With an introduction by Dolly Parton, how about that?
Even though the prices are low,
we'll start separating them first.
Members of Friends of the Irving Public Library believe there is endless value from reading, for learning, for enjoyment, and to make a difference.
We're real excited about what we're able to do for the library.
Great turnout there, and books that are not in good enough condition to be resold go to a recycler. The group gets about 4 cents a pound for those, and that money also adds up to fund library programs. To find out about future sales or make donations, click over to friendsofirvinglibrary.com. Registration is open for Keep Irving Beautiful's Don't Mess with Texas Trash Off. It will take place at Trinity View Park on April 6th. Each year, hundreds of people turn out to make a positive difference. Find the link to register at cityofirving.org/KIB. This is the state's signature event for Keep America Beautiful's nationwide Great American Cleanup Program. The City of Irving kicked off a new campaign to help residents toss like a boss. That means properly participating in the city's curbside recycling and other solid waste programs. So we will be sharing some messages throughout the year. This time, we are talking about special waste items. Accepted items can be placed on the curb next to your black trash bags on your regular collection day. But there are some things to know. Paint must be in a sealed container, no more than 5 gallons. Used motor oil, antifreeze, and transmission fluid must be in a sealed 1-gallon container. A maximum of 5 used oil filters will be collected if they are in a clear sealed bag, and a maximum of 3 lead-acid batteries will be collected curbside. The guidelines are different for hypodermic needles. Put those in a container that cannot be punctured. Leave at your front door and call Solid Waste Services for a pickup. More about all of this at cityofirving.org/special waste. We are working on several stories for our next edition of City Source. We'll check in on the Irving Police Department's Shop Talk program to see what's new with that outreach initiative and get a preview of a new exhibit at the Irving Archives and Museum that involves the art of recology. Those stories and much more next time on City Source. Remember, you can always email us your thoughts on our stories. The address is ictn@cityofirving.org. Also find us on YouTube, youtube.com/thecityofirving. We are always adding new content, so it is a good idea to subscribe. And while you're there, hit that like button on the videos you watch and leave us some positive comments. Also, you can look for updates on events and initiatives across the major social media platforms at the City of Irving. And that's it for this edition of City Source. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.